Hello, this is author Linda Vettrus-Nichols, your educational efficiency expert and creator of the Pattern Learner System, a variety of individual kits that support your child's innate capacity to learn. I believe that early intervention is key for ensuring that all children reach their full potential in math, reading, handwriting, and spelling. I have an amazing guest to introduce to you, Evelyn Cucchiara. Is that right?
Cucchiara, close enough.
Cucchiara. Yep. And she is the toy tamer. And Evelyn solves playroom problems. And she helps parents to get their kids organized. But actually, she helps the kids to stay organized. And she organizes playrooms. Welcome, Evelyn.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So toy tamer room organizing that works. I love that. I love what you're doing. And you do that with your husband, right?
Correct. Yep. It's him and I.
You guys add the structure that puts the kids in charge of cleaning up. Like, what parent doesn't want that service like yesterday, right?
Exactly. And most of the time the parents don't believe it can happen, but it definitely positively can.
I love that. And tell us a little bit about your background, the background that you're actually bringing. I know you've been in art and you've had your own daycare, so you know how cleanup goes, and you've got your own kids that you raise. Tell us a little bit more about your background.
Sure. Well, I started out going to school to become an art teacher. I always knew I wanted to be an art teacher, not specifically an artist, because they're two completely different things.
Right.
So by the time I was done with my education, I have my master's in art education and my bachelor's in art therapy and art education. And I never realized how much the psych aspect was going to come into play until I became the toy tamer.
Yeah, right.
But from that, I used to work with outpatient schizophrenics, and then I went to work for a fine art poster publisher, and then I opened my own daycare in my home where it was me and 7 kids all day.
Wow.
What I realized from all these different things is I have a lot of patience, but that's fine. So what happened was when I was doing daycare, I always at the end of the day had a bunch of toys I had to put away. And the way my mind thinks is I always want to figure out the best way to do something so I can set up a system once and then the system takes over and it just happens without me having to rethink about it, hopefully without me having to do the same work over and over again.
Right.
So fast forward a bit, I closed my daycare when I found out I was having my 3rd child. I have 3 boys because I figured me and 8 children all day was just a little too much.
Wow.
And and I opened up Art Adventures, which is an art studio for children. So I would teach art classes during the day while my kids were at nap or in kindergarten or whatever. And I did that for about 17 years, and I absolutely loved it. It speaks to my love of children. It speaks to my love of having the right thing in the right place at the right time, because that's the only way you can teach a bunch of kids at the same time.
Yep.
And I loved it completely, but I found that if I did it 5 days a week, I would get burned out.
Okay.
And I'm all about doing things so that I'm having fun in life, and I did not want to get burned out and start to dread doing my job every day.
Right.
So I looked around for something else I could do, and the studio was in my home, so people would walk through and always say, why is your house neat and clean, and why is it you know what's for dinner every night, even though you have 3 boys? I'm like, what are you talking about? Everybody lives that way. I found out, news to me, I found out that no, not everybody lives that way. So what I did is in my some spare time, I wrote a book called 30 Days to an Organized Home, which is a nice little book that basically tells you how to get your whole house in shape within 30 days.
Wow.
And that was fun. It became an Amazon bestseller, and that was good. And I tried to then parlay, that's not even the right word, I don't think, turn that into a business where I would help young families be better time managers. Because all my life, I mean, we always did things with a structure and a system so that nobody was running around like a chicken with their head cut off. And life, instead of being like this, was just kind of smooth. And as I said, I have 3 boys, so that's usually not the case, I have found out.
Yeah.
Right. So I opened up this business, and what happened was that people kept telling me they love the concept, but they have no time to learn how to have more time. And that makes perfect sense, but it wasn't getting either me or them anywhere at all in the hunt or the goal to have more time in life to do things you really want to do.
Yeah.
Right. So I took a step back and I said, all right, what can I do for them instead of teaching? Because I've always been a teacher, but let me think what I can do for them instead of teaching them something since they don't have any time.
Right.
And then I realized, wait a minute, I have this whole system about putting toys away at the end of the day, so I wasn't the one doing it, so the kids would be the ones doing it. But the big difference is that the kids would love to do it because they're motivated by fun, because it's a game, as opposed to being motivated by fear that the parents are going to yell at them. And that is where the toy tamer came from. So I started that by just putting the word out that I'm doing custom playroom organizing. Takes a little bit of explanation because people will Google playroom organizing, but they do not Google playroom organizer because nobody knows such a thing exists. So I have a very niche market. As far as I know, I'm the only person out there who specializes just in playrooms, but I love it. When I go into a messy playroom, like tomorrow I'm doing a big install, when I go in there and I see toys everywhere, I love it because I know how I can put it right. And not just for today and not just for the week, but I can put it right and put in the right system so the kids will take pride in the playroom, put the toys away, removing the stress from the playroom, the stress from the mom, the stress from the dad, and making the playroom the happy place it's supposed to be.
Yeah, absolutely. When I moved my kids out to Connecticut from Minnesota when they were 2 and 4, it was like traumatizing, and they had to like reenact the whole move, and they packed up everything they could get their hands on, towels and blankets, and made tents and packed little suitcases full of clothes, and it was the best babysitter. They did that all day long, but they were pooped at the end of the day. But it was like worth it for me to just clean it all up and have it happen all over again.
Right, yeah. I tend to gauge things that kids do. If it takes you longer to clean it up than they played with it, that's not good. But if they play with it for longer than it takes to clean up, all is well.
Not as well. I love it. Okay, so you kind of alluded to, like, people recognize that you are actually this organized person.
Yeah.
We're like, well, duh, right? And so get organized every day. You even have a book out there about that. So tell us a little bit about kind of your thought process on getting organized every day and outcomes of that, what difference that makes even for a family.
Sure. Well, I said at the beginning when we were talking that I'm all about how can I do things easier. And I'm organized not because I need everything in its place or I can't relax. It's nothing like that at all. I'm organized just so that I have time to sit down and read a book, because that's one of my favorite things I love to do. When my kids were little, it was hard to find time, as most young parents or most parents of young kids today can relate to. When was the last time they actually read a book or anything?
Right.
So that's my whole goal. So whether it's keeping the playroom neat and clean, figuring out what's for dinner, vacuuming, anything under the sun, any of those things that you have to do every day, every week, that's how I like to systematize, for lack of a better word, systematize it so I don't have to, and this is the most important part, so I don't have to spend brain power thinking about it.
Yeah, I just thought of that. No brainer went right through my head.
Exactly. Because if you, like I said, I know what's for dinner every night. I post it on a tile. Even now, my kids are all taller than me, and most of them are out of the house. I still write down every day what's for dinner so that I don't have to think about it. I don't have to spend time rethinking a couple minutes every day. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to have? What are we going to do? Because that just eats up your time and makes you very stressful.
Yeah.
So when I post that on like a tile, I know what's for dinner. My husband knows what's for dinner. If there's any kids around, they know what's for dinner. They don't have to ask me a million times. If there's another adult or somebody who can start dinner, they can start dinner because they know what's for dinner. So it only takes a couple seconds to write this down, but it saves me so much time during the day.
Love it.
So that's how I basically run my life. What can I do now that'll take a couple minutes to set up a system so that I don't have to think about it? And it just rolls. I mean, it's completely flexible. Like I have one day a week I go to the supermarket, but if I'm doing something that morning, it's no big deal, but I'll open up my calendar app and just slide it to another day. So I don't have to keep saying to myself, don't forget the supermarket, don't forget the supermarket, don't forget the supermarket.
Love it.
It just wears you down.
It does. So all of that removes stress, which
yeah. That's completely the reason. Remove stress, give yourself more time.
I love it. I love it. Okay, and more time then for fun, to read your own book.
To do what you want to do, whether it's playing with your children or reading your own book or going for a walk or whatever it is that you're missing most in your life since you've had children, then you'll suddenly find time to be able to do it again.
Beautiful. I love it. And it really calms your surroundings. I remember like the 1950s, 60s housewife, the one motto was about, make sure everything's neat and tidy when he walks in the door, because
right.
he's busy all day and he needs calm. And it's just like, are you serious? Mother needs some calm.
Exactly. It has nothing to do with that. It's just so that you have the calm.
You need to
Sure.
walk in, start cleaning up so you can go soak in the tub.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
For dinner, right?
Yeah, but it is true. I mean, when you have a place for everything and everything in its place, and that's really what toy taming is all based upon. But when you have a place for everything and everything in your place, it's easy to put it away. It's easier to put it away than it was to take it out. So you might as well just put it away. And then if you suddenly have people stop by, drop over, suddenly having a dinner party, it's no big thing. Like we had people over for dinner Saturday night. What did we have to do? Put two things away and run the vacuum around. That was it.
I know. I had a friend, I remember he couldn't figure out how this one pastor's wife had it all together. And she just said, you know, she just kept a short order on everything, you know, where it was like if somebody asked her to do something and it was going to be a yes, she got it done like right then and there. But she didn't have this huge laundry list
right
on her shoulders all the time. She just either said yes and got it done right then and there, or she said no.
It's just easy. Exactly. It's just easier. If you know you can do it and get it done. It's like if you need something done, give it to a busy person. Same concept.
That's just so true. Okay.
Yeah.
And then organize your child's thinking. Now, art therapist, I love it. Your back.
Yep. Where the psych background comes in. Yep, definitely.
Yeah, so cool.
Well, so think about it. If you're a young child and you're in a playroom, which a lot of playrooms are today, where there's just piles of stuff, or they might be in clear cubbies with lids on the top, and it's just pushed to the side of the room, which is how I see a lot of playrooms. When you go down there, you're not motivated to play because there's too much going on. You can't find anything. It's as if you went into your closet and everything was just piled on the sides and you had to find something to wear that day. I mean, you don't want to do it. So as a result, for a child at least, as a result, if they're looking for a specific thing, the only way they can get it out is to dump out the entire bin or cubby. Or they can't even get the lid off, so they have to ask mom or dad or nanny or grandmother or whoever's around for help, or they'll just give up and not even play with that because they can't find it, they can't get to it. Yep. So if kids are surrounded with this sort of a non-functioning mess and clutter, that's how they think. If their brains are completely cluttered, especially when they're young. I mean, as they get a little bit older, it's a little bit easier for them to compartmentalize, but when they're young, it's very difficult. So if you give them a structure in their playroom that's already compartmentalized, it relieves the stress from them and it makes it easy for their brains to start thinking in that manner.
Nice.
So you fast forward a little bit, once they're in school and such, if they've had this background where has a place for everything in its place, they can then separate in their minds, this is my school responsibilities, these are my home responsibilities, these are my sports responsibilities. So they can think compartmentalized. But if they're surrounded by complete clutter and chaos, even though it doesn't really look like chaos because it's all pushed to the sides, but if they're surrounded by a system that just does not work, then they can't think straight, and that follows them all through life.
Wow, that's huge. I don't think anybody thinks about that. I know when I sold Discovery Toys, that was, you know, just so much about the whole child development, and it just worked, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the big thing was like, don't have a toy box.
Right, it's the bottomless pit.
Take the toys away, pack them away where you know where they are, the kids can't get them, and display their toys. There is nothing worse than a bored child, and there's nothing more exciting than a new toy. And they forget about what they have when they don't see it every day. So you constantly bring out new stuff, but the idea was to display it, which is, you know, exactly what you're setting up, is you're putting toys on display.
Yeah, it is pretty much on display and easily accessible. That's a key also. It has to be easily accessible.
Yeah. And the, you know, just math and reading and whatever, there's all these pieces, parts, and it is about retrieval. You know, you're in school when you have access and you can get in there and retrieve things. I know, like neurologically speaking, kids with autism, I mean, their storage spaces, it's like filing cabinets all over their brain, you know.
Right, exactly.
Work with kids where it's, and typical kids too, you know, it's one filing cabinet, not just that though, not just one filing drawer, but one file connecting all the foundational patterns for learning, not the easiest ones to learn, but the most connected ones. And the kids just take off. I worked with a kid with a 40 IQ and had him reading 5th grade and 4th grade.
It just gives them a safe platform from which to grow.
Yep. Yep, and the gifted kids, their brains are going way too fast. Look at doctors, they can't even sign their name. And I would coordinate the body and the brain, bring it up to how smart they were, slow that brain down, and I call it sandwiching, and then off they went. And they could just teach themselves. So
Right.
doing is
Right. Well, that's what toy taming is all about. They do teach themselves, because the last thing I want to do is give the parents another job.
right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the best thing about your service. I mean, and you're not depending on like all these contractors or anything. It's just you and your husband. You
Yep.
got to get it figured out. You go actually purchase it, deliver it to the home the next day. You come in and I love your videos on YouTube and your website. They're so cool because they're the fast, like a flower grows really, really fast idea. Yeah, they show the two of them just and it's done. I love it. And we've got a before and after picture at the end here too. So develop compartmental thinking by having things in their place in your child's playroom. And have you seen behavioral changes in the kids? I would think you do. I know I do with my work.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I don't do I check in with the parents at, a week later, a month later, and throughout, the lifetime. But I don't really see the kids that much anymore afterwards, but I hear from the parents that it has become a much calmer place for everyone to be. They can actually play with the toys. I was once at a home where I had just put all the toys with the labels. The labels are vitally important. Labels in place, and this little boy pulled out the toy and said, I didn't know I had this toy. I have this at school. It's my favorite one. But at home, didn't even know he had it. So he immediately sat down and played with it for like 15 minutes. And this was a child who usually only plays with a toy for 2 minutes at a time.
There you go.
So it just is a calming influence that makes it a safe environment to play in and a safe place to explore creatively what your child's imagination or where your child's imagination wants to take him. And also, when you have different toys next to each other, then they can take those toys and combine them together to make something new and completely unique in their world. Whereas if you have something in a cubby up on a shelf and another thing in another cubby down on the floor, the chances of them combining those two things to create some new sort of toy pretend play scenario are none.
Yep. I love this. This is so cool. All right. Everybody can enjoy the day. Duh. You have more neuro energy to enjoy the day when things are cool.
Yep. You don't have to keep rethinking it.
Yep. And so tell me about opens up your schedule.
Okay, well, it definitely opens up your schedule the basic ways, because you no longer have to clean up the playroom. Or if you're the type of parent who just has given up, and I have a lot of those too, even though you've said to yourself you've given up and it doesn't matter what it looks like, you still have the weight of that mess on your shoulders. Even if you're not walking past it every day or anything, you're still acknowledging that weight. So that weight is just slowing you down completely. So once it's all organized and it stays that way for as long as the child needs a playroom, suddenly that weight is completely lifted off your shoulders. So now if you're going to go, you want to go work out, do yoga or something, you don't have a brain swirling with just one more thing you should be doing, even though you think you're ignoring it, but you're really not, because the weight's still on your shoulders.
Yeah, that's so crazy making.
Exactly. It's that monkey mind thing. So it definitely opens up your schedule, and it opens up your children's schedule, because when they're suddenly looking for their one Paw Patrol character that you have no idea where it is, as the child will know where it is, because there'll be like an Animals cubby, or depending on how many Paw Patrol you happen to have, Paw Patrol cubby or whatever. I was at a house we also do mompreneur offices. So I was at a house where I had done their playroom 2 weeks before, and I was back to in her office, and I heard this conversation going between the mother and the child. The mom said, the child said, "Mom, do you know where my such and such Barbie is?" And the mom said, "Well, did you look in the Barbie cubby?" And she said, "No." So she went and looked in the Barbie cubby. It was right where it should have been.
Nice.
So it's just saved so much time of the mom stopping whatever she was doing in the kitchen to go find this, toy before the child has a meltdown. It's where it belongs, and it just makes sense. So it takes what could have been a completely, crazy episode where a mom's annoyed because she's looking for this one toy, and the child's in the middle of a breakdown, and you have to get to ice skating lessons in 10 minutes. It completely eliminates that. Everything's where it should be, so you can find it. And when people are going to put things away, they know where to put it. It's just easier to put the Barbie in the Barbie cubby than it is to leave it on the top. Because there's some innate sense in all of us. You want to play match up with that picture and that item for that immediate gratification. And that's what propels the whole toy taming thing.
Yeah, and really they're going to stop asking you questions.
Because they can, yeah.
Stop
Exactly.
and go ask start some self-talk and ask them.
Self-empowerment starts when they're young, definitely.
Love that. I love that. Okay. And it's so in general, it makes life better. You want to kind of sum up everything we've said?
Sure. Well, once the playroom is organized and neat and clean, it removes the stress from having a messy playroom. It enables the children to find what they want when they want it. And more importantly, it empowers them to put the toys away again through making the entire thing a giant matching game. Just like they have in schools, where it obviously works because every preschool, kindergarten, classroom, and even up has the same sort of a thing. It involves a label, involves a picture, involves a place for that item to live with the label where the item lives. So it's that immediate gratification when you match the picture of your specific train to the when you match your specific train to the photograph of your specific train. It's that immediate, yes, I did it, immediate gratification. There's no better thing to propel and change your behavior than that. Doesn't matter how much mom and dad are going to yell, your immediate gratification is going to trump that every time. So that's what the toy tamer system plays into.
Yeah, you're actually taking a picture of the child's own toy and making that the label.
Yeah, and we do the whole transformation in one day.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's too distracting for everybody. Nobody can find a thing. Once you sort everything and put them in bins, and the bins all are the same color, that's important too for the serenity of the playroom. If the bins are all the same color but there's no labels, you can't find anything.
Right.
So I've discovered if I do it like more than one day, do it overnight kind of a thing, I leave them with like just a chaos for one night, and I don't want to do that. So now I bring a printer and a laminator and everything right there with me.
Wow, what a service. This is so cool. You know,
I actually have some labels here. See, this is what a label looks like. I don't know if you can see it. But...
wow, they're nice and big.
Oh, they're big. They're a photograph. They're laminated.
Oh my gosh.
These were ones that a customer I did a month and a half ago. One part of my system is that I'll continuously give customers free labels to update their playroom because I don't want it to get, aged out of, in a little bit.
Wow.
So what she did is sent me a picture with some room at the bottom and what she wanted to call it. So then I just took it, put the words on the bottom, printed it out, ran it through the laminator, put the hooks on it, because it's important that the label hangs. So if you have a bin under here and you want to put the toys away, you can just throw it right in and the label goes right back where it belongs.
Sure.
That's a big key part of it. So it just hangs. So I'm just printed these up this afternoon, so I'll mail them out to the customer, and easy peasy. I mean, it took me not even, 10 minutes, and then her playroom can keep on going forever.
There's that art background. Those are gorgeous.
Yeah, and they're just fun because you can clearly see, whether you can read or not, you clearly know what goes there, and it's the actual child's toys.
That is so.
And she took those pictures, not even me. She took them.
Oh, that's even easier for you.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, talking about niching, there was a guy who was a business coach for like construction workers, and the construction workers like, I don't need a business coach. Like they couldn't relate to that. And then one day he decided to call himself a construction coach. And there's like nobody else in the world that's a construction coach. And he got like 5 clients that next month, like boom, 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 boom.
Right.
So niching to what no one has niched to is pretty darn profitable. So yay you.
Yeah, definitely. And I've learned it's not, I originally thought like it was pretty much for everybody, but it's not, because having a messy playroom has to bother you. I mean, if some people just couldn't care less, so they're never going to hire me or use my system or sort services or anything.
Sure.
So yeah, so now if you ask me who is my perfect customer is a house-proud parent of young children who has a messy playroom.
Love it. Very cool. That's so cool. Yeah, and I'm working with typical learners because my background special ed, it's like, you know what? I want the kids to just get a really great start in school. So I've got typical learners 4 to 6 years old, and it's more holistically minded parents who are, wanting to really focus on their kids and make sure that they're getting a super healthy start, whether they're going to homeschool them or put them in the system.
Right.
Well, I love it. Okie dokie. There it is. Before
and after.
Ta-da! After, what a huge difference. That's lovely. And, way in the back there, to kind of to the right under the ER of after, that is like Matchbox cars type shelving. Yeah.
So they're only 1 deep. So if you're looking for a specific red car with the, the yellow Thunderbird on the hood, the child can easily find it. They don't have to dump a whole cubby out just to find that one specific one. And that particular before and after, you can see there's an organization, like a structure there already in both the before and the after. She already had that. So I'll obviously attempt to work with whatever people have. There's a couple things in life that just don't work, but that one worked fine enough. I'm usually not a fan of the wicker basket with the gingham liners, but she already had it. So we're not going to, you know, get rid of that whole thing just because. Right. But you can see the difference in that picture of the structures that I put in on the left-hand side of the after picture. Right. Those are easy for the kids to get to the bins. You can see the label hanging from the top, so it will swing when you toss something back in. Putting things away is a one-step process versus the structure on the right, where whether it's a basket you have to pull out, put in, push back in, and have two hands, or doors you have to open. You can see how that wouldn't work as well. What I did end up putting in there, and you can't see, though there are small word labels on those doors, we stored all the art supplies in there. Because those don't really have to be out so much. And that family, the youngest child was 6, so we didn't have to keep anything up high from a 2-year-old or anything. Right. But that's how we repurposed that. But the ones that I use on the left there, they're from IKEA. I mean, I love IKEA things because they're affordable. They can grow with the family. You're never going to have to get rid of that, even if you have teenagers. You know, you take the labels off, you still got perfectly usable storage furniture. Whereas the one on the right, I mean, you might be able to use it when they're young, when they're older, but eventually, you know, it's just going to look too babyish.
Yeah, that's a really great point too. Mm-hmm. Did they have that table set, or did you?
Yeah, they already had that too. Usually I put in a full-size table. That's kind of a mid-size. It's not the teeny little ones that like a 2 or 3-year-old, which I personally don't even bother with at all because they're useless. This is a mid-size one. It was a good quality one, so the kids still use it. Normally, I like to put in a full-size one so that adults can sit down with the children and participate also, whether it's a game, a puzzle, or whatever. I mean, most of the time, adults don't join kids in their play because, A, they don't have time, but also because there's nowhere comfortable for them to sit.
Yeah, good point. Love it. Good job. Wow. So you can find Evelyn Cucchiara on Facebook at The Toy Tamer. Very cool. And your website is there on your Facebook page and stuff too, right? But it's just
thetoytamer.com.
Easy.
Yep, I'm all about easy. That's why I do not have my name in my website address, because nobody can say it, let alone spell it.
Cucchiara. I love it. Thank you so much. This is so fantastic. You're offering such an amazing service, and you're in the New Jersey area. Is that right?
I am. Yep. I do travel a bit if people really want me to. I'm going actually to Long Island Friday to go look at a playroom that a woman has about to have her 3rd child in April. So she's like, I need you now. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. So yeah.
I love it. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for participating.
Thank you for having me on, Linda. It's great. This has been great.
Same here. Okay.